America Meditating Radio, a show for everyone to learn more about this amazing thing called life.
America Meditating Radio Show, tuning to love as we grow.
Welcome, everyone, to America Meditating Radio. I'm your host, Sister Jenna. We're broadcasting from the beautiful Meditation Museum, and we are opening up Meditation Museum 2 in just a few days. And so everyone is so thrilled and, again, very touched and humbled by all the cooperation and all the love of the folks that have been showing up. And I can't begin to tell you how our faith and belief in humanity is increasing. You must have heard Oprah's tag for the upcoming television series, Belief, which is a groundbreaking, bold television show featuring the lives of people who really turn to their faith to find strength, to believe in something greater than what they're living. So please hashtag Belief Stories and also send them what you believe in, and let's mobilize the conversation around this country and around the world and how powerful it is to believe in something greater than you. Stay tuned. We're going to have a wonderful Rachel Kelly joining us all the way from London. As you know, October is Depression Awareness Month. We want to pay honor and tribute to those who are very courageous in overcoming a lot of their internal struggles. But for now, let's go to Sister Gita and get a wonderful reading and hear what she has to say. Sister Gita?
Good day to you, and may this period in which depression visits us from time to time over a long period of time, remember that the original qualities of the soul is purity, peace, love, joy, truth. So depression is, it's happening, but it's not your reality. As a spiritual being, we accept it and we find out the reason. Oftentimes it happens to us when we're not listening to our inner conscience, and so an internal anger develops. So what popped up for me were two things: emotional pain and cheerfulness. I think I'll take us more into cheerfulness. Inner cheer is destroyed by a conscience which bites. So learn to do everything in a worthwhile way. It's an art which teaches you to appreciate your inner beauty. It makes you think twice before ruining it or doing whatever against your conscience. We used to be hard on ourselves when we made a mistake. It's much more effective to be handled with love. Telling the self off is a terrible habit. It subtly shapes a nature of sorrow, depression, grief. Finish the business of thinking of rubbish and instead take delight in all that you have found. Take delight in your attainments. Take delight in expressing love and gratitude to yourself, to the divine, and to mankind, and the animals as well. Have a day full of cheer by thinking cheerful thoughts. Over a period of time, depression will go. Okay. Om Shanti.
Love our soul's deep mystery. There's nothing more to do than call on you. Love and gratitude. Love and gratitude.
Welcome back. That was Kristin Hoffmann, who's going to be with us on opening night, but a beautiful and talented performer. And you heard Sister Gita's beautiful reading as well, taking us to another level of consciousness. And again, just a mentioning and a shout out about the upcoming television series called Belief, which you can get on OWN, or just go onto any social media and type in Belief Stories, and you'll get an idea to see where you can go, where you can attend. We're going to be having 7 days of Belief at the Meditation Museum in Maryland, and we're also going to be having Belief Days at Meditation Museum 2 in Tyson's Corner. Well, look, we're excited to have a conversation with this incredible woman, Rachel Kelly. She's calling us all the way from London, and this is October month, and it's a month in which individuals are really doing the best that they can to overcome not feeling very happy about themselves. So it is Depression Awareness Month, and we're honored to have Rachel Kelly join us from London to discuss this illness and her work in this area. She was educated at Oxford University, and Rachel began her career at Vogue, went on to spend 10 years as a journalist at the London Times. She's the co-editor of IF, a Treasury of Poems for almost every possibility, and the creator of 2 poetry apps. Rachel gives talks, runs workshops across the country on the therapeutic value of the arts. Her memoir, Black Rainbow, on the healing power of the written word, was a Sunday Times bestseller and won the Best First Book Prize at the Spears Book Awards. All author proceeds from the book are going to mental health charities. SANE, SANE, and United Response is what the charity goes to. And Rachel continues to campaign to reduce the stigma surrounded around mental illness. And today we warmly welcome Rachel to the air. Thank you, Rachel, for the incredible work that you're doing in this extremely sensitive and sort of misunderstood area of life.
Oh, it's a pleasure and it's an honor to speak to you, so thank you very much.
What has surprised you the most, Rachel, about depression? Because I think many of us have been influenced by someone close to us in our lives that we just don't know why they can't just get over it, you know?
Yeah.
And so, that's usually what we feel.
Yeah, people say, like, snap out of it. I suppose a lot of different things surprised me. I think the first thing that surprised me was that depression can happen quite suddenly. So it happened suddenly for me. I seemed to be fine and functioning, and then I did 3 sleepless nights. I had some alarming physical symptoms, and on the 3rd day I found myself in hospital, and it was a psychiatric hospital. So that surprised me. The second thing that surprised me was that I think depression can present in different ways. For some people, it's sort of a lassitude and a low mood. For me, it was born of heightened anxiety and overwhelm and this feeling of terror and panic, like a trap door had opened under me. And I didn't know that depression could present in that way. So I think those were 2 things that really surprised me. It happened suddenly, and it happened in this very frightening way.
I can only imagine. You've said that even though you live a privileged life, married to a successful banker, you've got beautiful children, you did not have privileged health. Did you find it harder to reach out to help because in all other estimations you were fortunate and you were supposed to be incredibly happy and almost even boastfully happy, like, look at what I've got, but you were not.
Yeah.
What was your realization?
I think this is another thing that I had to learn, which is that, depression is an illness. I know that sounds simple, but I hadn't realized that something can just go wrong with your brain. Like something could go wrong with your liver, or it could go wrong with your pancreas. It is an illness, and it can hit anybody. It's more nuanced than that, because it is also connected to circumstances in terms of what's happening in your life. While, as I say, it is an illness, but just like, diabetes is an illness, but if you eat a lot of sugar, you're more likely to have it. So what I had to learn was that it wasn't my fault. I didn't need to be ashamed, which I had a very strong feeling of shame, which I think is part of why there's such a stigma around mental illness. So I did feel really ashamed because, as you say, I had a very lucky life. But what I had to understand was that first, it's an illness, as I say, and secondly, the circumstances of my life, I'd taken on too much. I was overwhelmed. I had little children. My husband was a banker. He was a junior banker at Goldman Sachs. He was working really hard. I was working in the newsroom at the Times. We just took on too much, especially as a couple, and that's what I had to learn. And I think I also had to learn something quite subtle, which is that, even though I was very privileged and I'm so blessed in my family, I think there was something around loss, and I think depression often is linked with a sense of loss. And it's often, for some people it might be bereavement is a trigger, redundancy, divorce, and having small children. Now, maybe you think that's not obvious where a loss is, but I think there is something around us as women. We lose a sort of independence. We lose an ability just to give everything to our jobs, because I was very torn between having time for the family and having time for work, and in the end, my health gave out. So I think I had a lot to learn about, the truth of the nature of depression, and how it isn't as simple as, just because you tick a lot of boxes, almost because you tick a lot of boxes, you're vulnerable.
Well, the thing is, it's because this is my spiritual interpretation of it all. A lot of sum total of experiences of our past are kind of piling up, and they're sitting in the corner, sort of in a Pandora's box in the soul, and only we are the holders of that feeling, but we don't know how to exit those experiences. Like, we'll eat food and we know it exits, You will tell me something and I can tell you, I'm going to pretend I didn't hear that. I can close my eyes if I don't want to see something. But when your heart's been bruised, when your conscience has been touched, and that has gone in the soul, nobody knows how to exit that energy. And I feel that's where the power of spirituality and meditation and contemplation and pure karmas really help us a lot, because when you're depressed, you don't feel like moving. You can't get up. The energy is holding you, like a hostage. So in your basic episodes, you've had like 2 major episodes of that. Yeah. What happened the first time, and what was different the second time? Did you feel a difference of the two?
Well, definitely, because the first time I didn't know what was happening. In fact, because I had these symptoms of anxiety, because it was born of this, as I say, this kind of overwhelm and anxiety, I actually thought I was having a heart attack. My heart was beating so fast. It was sort of like back in the day, I'd seen a lion across the plain, as it were, and I was in that fight or flight, kind of gone crazy. So none of us knew what was going on the first time. And then the second time it happened, we knew what the beast was. We knew what was happening. I thought, oh my God, here it comes again. And the second time, the episode was twice as long. So the first time I was ill, by which I mean completely, as you say, unable to do anything, couldn't get up, couldn't do anything at all, for 6 months. And the second time I was ill for a year, which is very common in depression, which is that the second episode is worse than the third episode. So it was at that point, after that second major episode, I decided I had to radically look at my life, really work out, what was happening, look into myself much more deeply, my awareness, the truth of my priorities, and I just completely really changed a huge amount over the last 10 years, and I feel so much better now, but it did require a really quite a dramatic shift, really, across everything, my relationships, what I decide to do with my time. As you say, I now work for charities. Pretty much everything changed.
Is that why poetry became a very big part of your life?
Poetry was just, I think, a way to access a kind of deeper spirituality, which I think had been missing. I had been in such a rush. I would rush to work, rush home, rush. I wasn't really present. I wasn't in the moment. I wasn't either compassionate to myself or really compassionate to others. So it really started with the Bible, because for me, the Bible is full of poetry. And so the first thing that hit me, I was in hospital. I wasn't getting better. I was being given a lot of drugs. And my mother, who'd brought us up as Christians, and she was holding my hand, and she said this line from the Bible, and she said, "My grace is sufficient for thee. My strength is made perfect in weakness." And she just kept repeating this line like a mantra, my strength is made perfect in weakness. And I think it was at that point that it was a different story. It was a different narrative. It was like something positive was going to come out of this, and I'm going to come out stronger, and I'm going to really, as I say, go deeper. And it was that, I think, is why poetry spoke to me, was the beauty of the language, the beauty of the words. And most of the poets I'm most drawn to are religious poets. So people like George Herbert, who was a priest, and he has this lovely line. He almost certainly had depression, but it was in the 17th century, so it wouldn't have been diagnosed. But he has this great line. He has, "How my shriveled heart could have recovered greenness." And his poetry is full of these lines of hope and belief, and it's all about acceptance and accepting that, we are a child of God, and that through that, we will come back and we will recover. So I think that's really, in my memoir, I have around 50 poems, and they've all spoken to me. But I was looking over it the other day, and I realized pretty much all of them were religious poets. So I think that's really why poetry means a lot to me. And I think it works with mindfulness as well, because it requires you to be in the moment. You have to slow down, unpack the meaning, work out what's happening.
Right.
Apollo was the god of poetry and the god of medicine. So it works on a lot of levels for me.
Beautiful. Now, Black Rainbow is a moving book for you, and I'd love for you to tell our listeners more about the book, because it's powerful. And, if there are any other projects that you're working on that are helping us to really overcome our little low moments.
Yeah, so what I now do is, in this kind of complete change around in my life, really, when I decided I had to just take stock and try and work out, I just realized that one thing that was very good for my mental health was trying to help other people. And that just really helped everything, my mood. And so I started to run poetry workshops for mental health charities. I now do them around the country, and I do a 4-part series, and it's like a therapeutic reading group. Each session we share 7 or 8 poems, and they're all aimed at helping people through dark times. It's an arc from dark to light. And I'm now booked through till the middle of next year, and I'm ambassador for 2 charities, as you mentioned. And then the other thing is that I feel I've been so blessed, because through working with other people who found life hard, we've all shared the strategies that we've used to get better. So my next book is called Walking on Sunshine, 52 Small Steps to Happiness. And this is what I've learned, but it's also what I've been so privileged, because I work with groups. As I say, these charities all run support groups, and I come in and work with them. And so it's a real sharing of everything that we've all kind of journeyed together. And so I feel I'm just so passionate that I feel I'm recovered and I'm well, and I just want to share that. And if there's one person it might make a tiny difference to, then, it's worth it for me.
Splendid. Rachel, it's been wonderful having you on the air, and I feel like some of the things that you were sharing were speaking to Oprah's upcoming television series called Believe, and I'd really love for you to look into that, because I know they'll be having international releases in December. Before I let you go, I usually love to ask our guests on the air about their favorite life quote that they're living by.
Oh, wow, that's such a great question. The favorite life quote, oh, gosh, there's so many different ones. I think I would probably turn to someone like Emily Dickinson, wonderful American poet, and she has a poem about a small bird, and it just has this lovely first line. It says, "Hope is the thing with feathers." And it's just this image of hope things will get better, you will recover. And this image of this little bird, it gets me every time. We're part of something bigger. We're part of nature. We're part of the wider world. So I always, if one of the children's down, it might sound maybe not instant, but hope is the thing with feathers.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Is there a website that we can get a hold of you if our listeners would like to contact you?
I share a lot on my website's rachelkellynet.com, and then I'm on Twitter as well, and I love to share. This has been one of my privileges over my 20-year journey. People have sent me things that have helped them, and we share back. So I'd love to be in touch, and there's a lot of blogs on there. I run a blog for people sharing what's helped them. So it's entirely aimed at trying to help people through dark times.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, Rachel Kelly, thank you so very much, and all the very best with your continued good work to humanity.
It's a pleasure. I'd like to listen to that music you had again. I'm going to have to tune in because I feel so relaxed listening to it. It's wonderful.
There you go. Just Google Kristin Hoffmann. She's amazing. Well, I'm going to leave you with another good one. I'll leave you with Lucinda Drayton on her Open My Eyes track. Thank you. And
all right, bye.
So it's up to you. A lot of us don't understand that depression is an illness, and we really always feel like people could just snap out of it. But if you've ever had a down time, a broken heart, taken out your emotions on food, and just found yourself in a pattern, really it's a pattern and you just can't seem to break it, pay attention, be slow, get into the zone, find something that can speak to you at a much deeper level. I think that's really going to be one of the greatest cures. Remember, no one can take away your happiness unless you give them permission, and we are here to love each other the same, everyone. So let's do so. Oh, here's Open My Eyes by Lucinda Drayton. Take care.